What's going on, Packers Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Packers Latest. I am your host, Taylor Bretl, and we are one day away from game day between the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. If you're new to the channel, I welcome you once again. My name is Taylor Bretl, your host for Packers Latest. If you've been here in the past, appreciate you guys for coming back to tune in to another episode. Feel free to subscribe, leave a like, turn on the notification bell. All of those help me build a strong community between you guys and everyone else that are fans of the green and gold or fans of another team like the Minnesota Vikings who want to see what they're up against come tomorrow. But anyways, we got a pretty busy show ahead for us, and let's jump right into it. I'm starting this one off looking at the trends between these two teams. Packers, Vikings, NFC North rivals. One of the best rivalries in football, in my opinion. Obviously, have that a little bias with the Packers following those rivalries more than others. But you got Packers-Bears, really hard to top that one. But Packers-Vikings is a rivalry that has been slept on. You obviously got the drama with Brett Favre to kind of mix that up just a little bit. But these are two teams that have been in similar situations over the past, I'd say, about 10 seasons with the possible playoff contention and such. So looking at trends between these two teams, we got to go back to last season where the Minnesota Vikings swept the Packers in the regular season 2-0. So they have won the last two matchups between them and Green Bay. With this game on Sunday, it's being played in Green Bay. You got to look at that. The last time the Packers beat the Vikings in Green Bay was 2023 by a day. January 1st, 2023 is the last time the Packers were able to beat the Vikings at home at Lambeau Field. Something to note, that is one day off from being 2022, and we are about a month and a half away from 2026. So it has been a while since Green Bay has won at home against Minnesota. You look at Jordan Love in this rivalry, he is just 1-3 all time as a starter against Minnesota. His Vikings team has given him trouble. You think back to last season as well. You look at the final score, you look at the, box score maybe outside of that quarter-by-quarter breakdown. It looked like two really close games, but I remember watching those games last season. Jordan Love tried to do all he could to make a monumental comeback, but Minnesota was rather dominant in both of those games. So it'll be something to note. Maybe, change the direction that these games are going. Green Bay looking for a very big win to improve to 7-3. But how are they going to get that big win? What are the Packers going to have to do? Well, I think the storyline of this game is the Packers defensive line versus the Vikings offensive line. The Vikings offensive line has not been great this season, and they've been battling tons and tons and tons of injuries. And behind that offensive line, you have a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy that is a second-year player, but in his first year as a starter, as he was out all last season with an injury. And I think this Packers defense and that defensive line that is always hungry can give the Vikings some trouble. This is per Sean Bowman on X. This was tweeted on November 16th, I believe. Said it was the first time all season the Vikings offensive line allowed 0 sacks. This is talking about their last game. And they've given up just 1 sack over the last 2 games. So Minnesota trending in the right direction, but you look at these numbers I'm about to put out to you, and it is still a concerning statistic. Even though they've given up just 1 sack over the last 2 games, per StatMuse, you look at the teams that have given up the most sacks in the NFL. First is the Tennessee Titans with 41. Second is the Los Angeles Chargers with 37. Third is the New England Patriots with 36, tied with the Jets, who also have 36. And then tied for 4th, the Arizona Cardinals and the Minnesota Vikings. Also something to note, Chargers and Patriots, that's through 11 games played. The other teams, it's through 10 games played. So the Vikings averaging 3.4 sacks given up per game, but they are trending in the right direction based on that post on X, just 1 sack given up over the last 2 games, which is huge if you're Kevin O'Connell and you're the Minnesota Vikings, especially with a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy that has had some early struggles, some signs of really, really early struggles in the NFL. He has 8 interceptions to just 6 passing touchdowns. He's having trouble keeping the football on Minnesota's side. But, the hard pressure that these teams are giving J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota kind of makes him panic a little more, makes him, rush some throws maybe. There's all factors into this. I know J.J.'s been taking some heat. They've been saying, maybe he wasn't the best draft pick, kind of trying to move on. He's only played a couple games in the NFL, and he's coming off a season-long injury last season, but definitely not the signs you want to see early on if you're Minnesota, and a big reason to that is the hurt O-line that is also struggling to maintain J.J. McCarthy. And it's just kind of, when one thing falters, the whole thing kind of doesn't work. You got to have all the pieces moving. But speaking of pieces, let's get into some of the key pieces for the Green Bay Packers to come away with a win in this game. I'm going to go over the latest injury report, and this is what it kind of looks like. A little bit different. I know we've talked about this in a couple of other episodes, and there's just a lot of question on what it will truly look like. So this is following Friday's practice, Green Bay's injury report. Officially ruled out, Jaden Reed, he tried to hint at him coming back. If that practice window could maybe open up, but did not expect him to be in that game. Nate Hobbs will also be out for yet another game for Green Bay. Doubtful. This would be a big blow for Green Bay. Quay Walker is officially doubtful, leads the Packers with 84 tackles this season, and tied for first on the Packers with Edgerrin Cooper for the most solo tackles at 41. That would be a very, very big loss for Green Bay, but you got to protect Quay. You got to keep these guys healthy. He's battling a neck injury, and, neck injuries are always a scary thing. So even though it's doubtful, and that doesn't mean it's out, don't expect Quay to be on there on Sunday. You go to the questionables, and man, these are a lot of questionables that you would like to see the word active next to them. Josh Jacobs, Matthew Golden, Carl Brooks, Lucas Van Ness, Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams. Woof. Lots of receivers in that mix, and Josh Jacobs did expect him to be on that questionable list with that knee injury he obtained at MetLife Stadium. But man, Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, Savion Williams, all out. And then you look at the defensive line, Carl Brooks and Lucas Van Ness. If they are all out, a lot of questionables, I know, flip to active on game day. But hey, not all these questionables might flip to active. But looking at it player by player, I would believe Josh Jacobs. If I had to pick one of these players that would be out, I'd pick Josh Jacobs. But hey, what do I know? I really don't know much. He just got hurt at MetLife Stadium. There's a video of him in the locker room after the game talking about how that's his least favorite stadium to play in because of the turf and because of the ground, and that is a big reason to his knee injury. Seriously, just went straight into the turf, and he's trying to come back for this game, but it appears, based on reports, if he's not back for this game, he will be back for the Thanksgiving game against the Lions. So let's get into some of the key pieces, knowing who might be in this game, who might not be in this game. Really hard to tell. So I'll go with my offensive key piece. I'll go Jordan Love. I know it's kind of a basic pick. You pick the quarterback. But you look at this injury report, it's hard to tell who's even going to be out there with him. If Jacobs is playing, maybe it's Jacobs. But if Jacobs is not playing, I'd probably lean Emmanuel Wilson as the offensive key piece. But with a lot of these questionables, we won't know until Sunday, I'm going to go Jordan Love. It is Toyota-thon. Jordan Love is known to be very good during Toyota-thon, 28 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. And with him being just 1-3 all-time against Minnesota, he really needs to prove that he can win these NFC North games. Obviously, try to help the Packers crawl back in 2 games last season, but they got down so big that it was too deep of a hole to dig out of. Defensive key piece, I'm going to go Isaiah McDuffie if Quay is officially out. Doubtful with a neck injury, probably means out, but hey, I can't predict anything till I see them on the field on Sunday. But that's going to lean me towards Isaiah McDuffie as the key player. McDuffie is always in there and a huge impact for Green Bay. But you got guys like Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper, and McDuffie kind of just doesn't get as many snaps as he used to, but it's a very good problem to have if you're Jeff Hafley, that you have a guy like McDuffie coming off your bench to fill in. I mean, he could easily be a starter on many other teams in the NFL, the draft pick out of Boston College. He is very, very, very good and has always provided that, stability kind of. I say backup, but like he could be like a starter. Like he just provides such stable play, and it's really nice when an injury possibly like Quay Walker appears. It's not like, oh, how deep are we getting in the roster? It's, oh, Isaiah McDuffie's the one filling his spot. Really great to see this linebacker room for the Green Bay Packers. It's one of the best in the NFL. But that's got to lead me into the final segment and final predictions between Green Bay and Minnesota. Final score, I'm going to go 24-17. I know I'm keeping it a little low scoring. I got this by a touchdown, and I wanted to pick 27-20, but that's what last week was. But also, the Packers have scored 27 points in every single win except one this season, so it almost feels like picking 27-20 could be right, but I'm not going to do it. I'll knock off 3 points per team. I'm going to go 24-17. For my offensive player of the... let's go offensive touchdown instead of player of the game. Let's predict who will score a touchdown for the Green Bay Packers. You know what? I'm going to go bold. With this injury report, no idea who's playing. I don't want to pick a guy that might not be on that field, so I'm going to go Jordan Love. I'll go a rushing touchdown. I won't guess who he's going to throw one to. I'll go a rushing touchdown for Jordan Love. No idea if that'll happen, but hey, it's Toyotathon. He's going to get fancy. He's going to do his silly body things, however people word that on X and everywhere on social media. I'll have him getting a rushing touchdown, because why not? It's fun to predict something like that. Defensive prediction, we talked about J.J. McCarthy and his interception issues. I'll say the Packers get an interception on him, and I'll pick Carrington Valentine. He's played very well for Green Bay, especially in a thin cornerback room that has needed him to step up more than ever. I will pick Valentine getting an interception. And one of those other stats to note, J.J. McCarthy, 2-3 as a starter. The 2 wins, he's thrown just 1 interception in the games. The 3 losses, he has thrown multiple. So maybe there will be multiple interceptions for Green Bay if they come away with the win. But I'll go if they get 1, I'll give it to Valentine. But that's all I got for today's episode of Packers Latest. Once again, game days tomorrow, going to be tuned in. You guys should be as well, hoping that the Packers can come away with a needed win against the Minnesota Vikings. And as always, go Pack, go.